only wants you to make good beer. And have fun hanging out with your friends. Here's Dono. Today on the program, something I've never made but have consumed, Grodziskie, a Polish low alcohol smoked beer that we'll get into. This is going to be my yeast of choice for today. We'll get into that. This is going to be my hop of choice, and at that alpha acid it will provide in the range of the spec of the IBUs. We'll get to that. So this is an interesting historic style. I think I want to say I first heard of this from the Deja Bru competition. That might not be entirely true, because I also have heard of Grodziskie, which is the same type of beer but from a different region. And here is the marquee item for this beverage: oak smoked wheat. Now, this is Weyermann, but it is not the Rauch malt, which is beechwood smoked. So this is a lighter in smoke character. I'm going to go through a bunch of info. I think it's important to provide some context. Hopefully it's not too boring. So I watched a fun video called Piwo Grodziskie, maybe the best beer you've never tried, by a YouTube channel named Brew and Build. I can link that, but this fellow did as authentic of a replication as possible, and his beer looked lovely. So what is this beer? It is blah de blah, sometimes known as the Champagne of Poland. A low gravity, so there is actually a BJCP style guideline. So this is from their thing. Overall impression: low gravity, bitter, oak smoked historical Central European wheat beer with a clean fermentation profile and no sourness. Highly carbonated, dry, crisp, and refreshing. Moderately low to medium oak smoke flavor, which carries into the finish. The smoke character could be stronger in the flavor than in the aroma. It's gentle, not be acrid, not have this bacon ham type of a thing. Light in body, crisp, dry finish, carbonation is high. Now, speaking of light in body, the statistics, OG of 1028 to 1032. Good people, that is a low OG. I have never brewed a beer that low of OG. I'm going to use 7 pounds of the oak smoked wheat. So off the top of my head, if I get 5 points per pound of barley, that would put that at about 1035. We'll see where it comes in at, but it's going to be pretty low. IBU is 20 to 35. Final gravity 1006 to 1012. Alcohol range 2.5 to 3.3. So I mean, mine might be a smidge above that, but probably not even up to 4. Ceased regular commercial production in the 90s. This beer goes back to the 1800s. And since then, Polish homebrewers kind of kept it alive, from what I gather. And I feel like in recent years it's found a larger audience. Like I mentioned, Deja Bru. People brew this style and entered into that contest. So people are brewing this style. I'm going to brew this style. I know Chip has known a couple people. In fact, I just got off the internet, and a local brewery called Bad Weather apparently made one of these that is fermenting. So it is, around. The people also like the lighter alcohol beers. Yeah, Grodziskie, German-speaking countries, and in some beer literature that you might see it, Gratzer. That's about it. My plan, 7 pounds of oak smoked wheat. Now, it's 100% wheat, so I definitely got some rice hulls, and I'm going to hope that the amount that I choose to put in there will help me lauter it. My beer will probably be about 3.5-ish. Got the ounce of pearl. It should be around 24 IBUs. I got the Safe Ale K97, which is a German ale yeast. And the other thing I'm going to do is not pitch 11 grams of yeast in 5 gallons because that would be considered over pitching. Chris England made a note on that, and I even contacted him and he said, he gave me some tips, and roughly it sounds like around half of the packet or a little bit less is what I'm going to do. So first thing to do now is to weigh out the malt and crush it up. 7 pounds does not really seem like enough grain for a batch of beer. It does have a pleasant light smoke character, but here, you know, you can see this biggish bucket, but only is going up to here. And this hopper is a 7-pound hopper, and it actually took all of the grain at once, which that is actually a first. I've never brewed with only 7 pounds of grain, but she's crushed up. We're ready to go. And one more note, here is 0.7 pounds of, how do you say, rice hulls. So I read something about if you have, you know, a pound of rice hulls per 10 pounds of grain or something along this nature, 10% or 10% of your grain weight should be your rice hull weight in this case. So I thought, sounds about right. So this is about 11 ounces, 0.7 pounds. Boil is going. Time for the 1 ounce edition of German Pearl. And the pre-boil wort is 7 bricks, so that's about 1028, which means it's only going to go higher than that. So yeah, probably maybe around 1035 was kind of what I was thinking. Alright, about to wrap up the brew day. I got a quick look at the gravity on this one, and it was a little over, like barely over 1030, which I thought was interesting because I did go from 6.2 gallons to 5 gallons even. So that's, you know, 1/6 of the volume got reduced, but the gravity, if it was 1028 and if it only went up to about 1030, 1031, 1032, I thought it was going to go up more. But really, to the point at hand, it still is in spec for this style. And here is about 5 grams of the K97 yeast. I thought about doing the rehydrating, and I got talked out of it. I don't know. Plus, I still have another 6 grams of this yeast in my fridge. I just carefully cut off a corner and resealed it up. So I'll keep an eye on this over the next, you know, well, the rest of today, and hopefully it'll get going. If I feel like it's not going enough, or if I just get antsy or what have you, I can always add some more. So this beer took a minute to get going, actually, and I think that was for 2 reasons. One is I had it at only about 60 Fahrenheit, and 2 was the fact that I just pitched the right amount of yeast and not an excessive amount, or, you know, a little bit over what I needed. But anyway, now it's warmer, and now for the last couple of days it has been going right along. So it's Sunday, and I brewed it Friday. So actually, I guess it would have been Saturday evening. Over 24 hours after pitching, it took to really kind of get going. And I also probably Saturday afternoon brought it up to warmer temps, but it's going now. Can look at the camera, and we can do the screen cap. All right, there we are, everybody. This beer, I don't know if I can demo it on the camera, but it did get pretty clear, I would say, and as far as I know, it should be clear for the style. I think I commented that I didn't quite get as high of an OG as I thought I would with 7 pounds. It was only 7 pounds, so it was not, you know, that much. But I thought it would get closer to 1035, but I got 1030. I got what I got, and I didn't throw a fit. And I did the math, and if it was gonna get up to 3%. It had to get down to at least 1.007, and it got to 1.006.
Sweet.
So 3.1. The lowest alcohol beer I have ever made. Otherwise, the fermentation went well enough. It did take a minute to get going because it was a little bit cooler, and also I did only use half of a pack of 11 grams of a dried yeast per Chris England's recommendation, and it actually kind of makes sense because you could use a whole pack in a 1060 beer, and it was half of that for a gravity, and he's a proponent of not over pitching, correct pitching. So I did it. I didn't feel great about it, but it did eventually get going. It was, like I said, a little cool, got warmed up, and it got fermented fully. So this type of glass is what I've seen on the interwebs for the sort of the official type of a glass. So cheers.
Unofficial glass.
Unofficial glass for you suckers. Have you, I know you have you had some Grodziskie examples before?
Yes.
Is it similar to ones in your memory?
Yeah, and it's as good as or better than most of them. This is a really nice beer, Don.
It's taking me a minute to get used to it because it's so light in flavor. It has flavor.
Yeah.
It has more flavor than, like, if it wasn't oak smoked wheat, I think. You know what I mean? Like, because that does give it some smoky character, but it's not overly smoky by any means, I don't think, even for 100%.
Yeah, it's a very light smoke. It's a very different smoke, too. I find it's more woody than, say, like, burnt, ashy, creosote, resin, like all these other flavors that some of these
hammy,
campfire
fruity.
Instead of smoked pork.
Yeah. Yes, campfire, wood.
It's a little
chips,
hammy though.
Sawdusty.
It's not unhammy. It's just
not
not as hammy.
unhammy?
It's just not as hammy as like some beers were like.
Whoa, lower or a smaller grist, right? Will kind of help moderate that, and then just the overall lightness of the style. Its
finish is it's smoky in the finish.
Yeah.
It's also a little just nice bitter kind of twist there at the end. No water modifications per usual, etc., etc. But
yeah, it's I guess you could say it's dry-ish, but it's also just so low OG to begin with, and a fairly low final gravity.
crushable.
So yeah, I like it. I was thinking about, when I was thinking about this beer in particular, about session versions of beers, and I normally don't like them. Because a session pale ale or a session IPA is not as satisfying, and it's hard, you don't know what to expect. It always tastes like it's just a shadow of what I want.
Like an NA beer of its respective style.
Right. So this is interesting because this is what it should be, but it's kind of similar in that light flavor. I guess you'd say light body.
You've got no like false expectation what it's going to be because this is what it is.
Expectations.
It's not an IPA that you're trying to make half strength for the sake of being somewhat healthier or whatever the reason.
Lower alcohol.
Yeah. Well, you asked before we rolled, like, what is the role of these kind of beers? Is there a role? And you kind of seemed almost like you were going to think the answer was like a little no-ish.
Well, so like I was saying, I'm getting used to this beer still, but it's kind of like when you drink hop water. It's that's no alcohol, but it has a hop flavor, but it also isn't a beer. This is a beer, but it's like half a beer. I mean, I made a beer the other day that was more than twice this original gravity. You know, it's just really interesting that...
Humble brag.
Well, a 1060 beer is not even like that big of a beer. But I like it. I do like it. I'm coming around to it. And I do find sometimes if I'm having like several beers throughout the evening, I feel like, oh, if I go get one of these, then it's,
Start.
less alcohol.
Yeah.
Or in the middle, or, wherever. It's like, I'm not drinking a glass of water, but I mean, it's less alcohol.
Get your water out of here.
But yeah, I
Dirty secret. They know we don't wear shoes when we do these.
so yeah, I mean, I'm gonna make another session beer from your book about session beers. That's gonna be like 4.5%. It's gonna be like a brown ale. That'll be coming up at some point, and I'll see how that strikes me. That'll be a little bit more like a quote unquote, full strength beer than this. But I mean, do you ever, when you were brewing more, did you ever brew low alcohol beers?
Oh yeah.
Such as?
Milds, bitters, 60 shilling Scottish ales. I've done
Where the style is lower.
Grodziskie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
It is lovely.
low alcohol beers definitely have a place. Like, whether you're just sort of like trying to moderate your alcohol consumption but still want to drink beer. If you are a brewery, non-alcoholic beer is paradoxically pretty difficult to brew, right?
Yeah.
So like, it's, in a lot of ways, it's easier to make something that's intentionally like 2.5%, 3%. And then that becomes sort of like a beverage of moderation option.
Right, and I know you've made some lower alcohol ones. And I also thought of mild. The mild is like the other example for me personally that I've made, probably 4-ish, but it was a satisfying drink in and of itself because it was what it was supposed to be.
You don't feel shortchanged, but like, oh. I mean, I just think a lot of the lagers that are getting popular in the last couple of years, like, thankfully their style range is low. So it comes back to what you're saying. It's like just finding beers that are supposed to be sub 5 instead of trying to make an IPA delightful at 3%, which is just not really going to happen.
Yeah. Then
It
I'd rather
can,
just
but
have, rather just have something that is what it's supposed to be.
Just have a rice lager, darn it.
Yeah, man. Well, ironically, one of my beers
Well, not yours,
coming
my
up
lager.
is like a 6.5+% rice lager because I wanted to make it stronger and bigger. But that's another video and another beer. But yeah, if you've never made this style and if you have an interest, I don't know how hard it is to get the. Thank you to Rahr BSG for the oak smoked wheat. Yes, that's where I got that. I think I bought the yeast and the hops this time, but the malt is free, and I like that, so thank you guys. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty easy to get, isn't it? You guys know, like, if you want to buy this oak smoked wheat, it's, okay, there you go, there you
If
have
your
it.
homebrew shop doesn't have it, they can order it for you.
What's
Okay.
interesting is this is very close to the smoked Kolsch that I just did recently, because that's 1045 or something like that, but like it was 30% oat smoked wheat, the same pills that's in this, but it's notably, that beer has much more of a light touch. It's much more Kolsch.
Right.
So it's kind of cool to have like two of these. Oh, would have been cool to have them side by side, but mine's gone.
I wonder how that
Smoko.
happened.
Go, Smoko.
Yeah, Polish champagne.
Yes.
All right, on to the next one. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. These having been recording.